Welcome to the Somewhat Mid-Afternoon Show. I am your special host, Brady Ash. That's right, it is me, Brady. I am now the new owner of this show. It is no longer Mike Ryder because he lost the greatest bottle flipping contest of all time to me. So I'll be running this show around here from now on. And get this, I'm even going to feed the editors. I heard lots of complaints in the last episode of the Somewhat Mid-Afternoon Show that they were being underfed. So they are now getting one extra loaf of bread per month. That's right, one whole extra loaf of bread. That's doubling the quantity right there. Now that I'm the owner of the show, things are going to be changing around here. You know, we're playing some new games. We're actually playing a game that I made up all on my own just a little later with our upcoming guest. And, you know, we're going to be changing up the style of, you know, some interviews and such. And, you know, we'll even have better commercials. Because, you know, now that I'm the host of this show, they were like, oh, somebody special is actually, like, you know, running things around here. So we've got some cooler and better commercials coming up. Speaking of commercials, here's coming up one right up now, and we're gonna be greeted by this random guy named Mike right after the break. So we'll see you then. Welcome back to the Somewhat Mid-Afternoon Show. Again, I am your very, very, very special host, Brady, and not Mike, the non-special host of this show prior to me. Mike, you know, I'm sorry it's come to this, man, but you know, at least you have a nice couch.
I have a nice couch.
At least you have a couch.
I can wear comfy clothes.
You have comfy clothes.
I mean, it hasn't changed your attire.
I mean, budget cuts, so I just couldn't afford for a nice button-up thing.
I spent a lot of the budget on
button-ups. Yeah, there's just I saw the breakdown of like the invoice there, and it was just like $100,000 on just like dress shirts and ties, which you don't even wear that often. We haven't even seen those since like what, April?
Since I don't know.
Yeah, exactly my point.
They were the first to go out of the budget.
Yeah. Anyway, so I put a lot of work into this episode. Sure. And I came up with a brand new game.
Perfect.
For this week's episode.
I'm looking forward to it.
And get this, you know what it's called? It's called Know Your Youth.
Yeah. I've never heard a game anything like this game before.
Yeah. See, it's just so innovative. So I'll explain how it works for you.
Okay.
Just because, you know, it can get a little complicated.
I have no clue how this works.
I message through various platforms 3 of the youth.
Okay. Do I get to know which 3 they are?
Yes.
Okay.
So we've got who do we have? We've got Danny. He was on last week's or 2 weeks ago's episode. He was last episode. So you know that was your final goodbye. You didn't even know it.
I didn't even know it. I was so confident.
You were so confident.
I was going to win that I didn't even bother mentioning.
That's why you shouldn't be confident in poor bottle flipping skills. But that's another discussion.
I've learned that.
So yeah, we've got Danny. We've got Hannah.
All right.
You've interviewed her before on the show as well. That was a little while ago, but you know.
She did drawing on her head.
Yes. She was drawing on her head. That was atrocious. An atrocious house.
Yeah.
And finally, we've got Sophie. She's actually been on the show twice.
Yeah, she's bad at spelling.
She's very bad at spelling.
And she kind of knows her sibling.
Yeah, I was somewhat impressed, you know.
They got the harder questions right.
Yeah, it was a little backwards, but you know, hey, doesn't know her own brother's name, but knows his favorite food. So, you know. True. But yeah, so I got 3 stories from them.
Danny,
you know, Danny, Hannah, and Sophie. They gave me some stories that they want me to tell you, and it's your job to guess whose story it is.
All right.
So, you know, I know it's a little complicated. You probably haven't heard of this before, but we'll start with story numero uno.
Numero uno.
So this person went to a summer camp, and there was a lot of hype around this guy named Mondo. And so, they're all hanging out and stuff. And there was this really loud intro music.
Okay.
And this person decided to just scream Mondo Nation. Just at the top of their lungs. Unfortunately, though, the music just stopped right before they said it. So they just screamed Mondo Nation in the crowd of this people, and everybody just started laughing at them.
Okay.
So, it's a bit of a depressing, embarrassing story. But
sorry, so was this person the one who screamed Mondo Nation?
Yeah, they screamed Mondo Nation in a crowd of people.
It wasn't that they witnessed.
No. Okay. They were said embarrassed person screaming Mondo Nation.
All right.
Story numero 2. You get to hear all the stories first. Don't worry.
Yeah, I know they've all gone to camp. That's the problem. It doesn't eliminate them.
That's the nice part about this whole situation. And fun fact, they were all 5 years old once, so this isn't going to give you any hints.
Yeah.
Story number 2, 5-year-old, or they're 5, went and stepped and got stuck in poo. And their best friend went around to all these strangers. So they're at a campsite. That's probably important context. They're at a campsite. They stepped and got stuck in this big pile of poo on the ground.
Big pile of poo.
Well, they're 5, so big is relative. But they got stuck in this poo, and their best friend, who I'm assuming is similar age, went around to all these strangers, just saying, "Excuse me, excuse me, excuse me," hoping that they would follow them and help this person out of the poo, quite literally. So that's story number 2.
I want to know how long they were stuck in the poo before someone saved them.
I should have asked for that information. That probably would have been helpful. Anyway,
Right.
So we've got Mondo Nation and we got stuck in poo.
Okay.
Story number 3 is this person was playing hide and seek with their mom.
Okay.
And as a hiding spot, so it was just around the area, they're at home, their backyard and stuff. But this person decided to go into, just walk into their neighbor's house. And just, that was a good hiding spot. And eventually their mom started looking around, and eventually they found this person waving through the neighbor's window. But the neighbors weren't actually home. This person just walked into the house. The door was unlocked, I guess. They just let themselves in and just started waving through the window to their mom. And, justly, the mom got a little upset about this hiding location.
Yeah.
So they went home, and then that night, they returned back to the neighbor's house, and the mom forced this person to apologize to the neighbors.
Yeah.
And it gets better from here.
Oh, good.
It turns out the neighbors had a 16-year-old son who was actually home upstairs, but the guy thought they were being robbed. So he went and hid in the closet and was in the closet for hours until the parents eventually got home, later that night.
Wow.
So this person basically just traumatized a 16-year-old.
These stories are better than the later stories.
Yeah,
Wow, okay.
Yeah, they just have a lot more life experience than we do.
Apparently. Okay.
Yeah, so there you go. You've got Mondo Nation, stuck in poo, and you've got hide and seek gone wrong.
Okay. Sorry, clarifying question on Mondo Nation.
Okay.
This person's camp name wasn't Mondo. There's someone else.
No. There's if we were at camp and the camera guy was named Mondo and just bumping music, and I just decided to scream Mondo Nation.
Okay.
I am the person in the story.
All right.
Yeah,
so Mondo.
Mondo's
our cameraman, was obviously a very attractive leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about attractive, but
Okay.
All
right.
So your people are again Danny, Hannah, and Sophie. So what do you think? You can start anywhere you want.
Knowing Hannah.
Okay.
I think Hannah is Mondo Nation.
You think Hannah's Mondo Nation?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Hannah's Mondo Nation. And also knowing the camp that she goes to, I think it's going to be Mondo Nation.
Is it a bit of a crazy camp that Hannah goes to?
Well, because the comparison would be Sophie. I'm assuming Mondo is a male leader.
Yeah, it's just probably good. I don't know if it's
Sophie goes to
leader.
Camp Bob, and Camp Bob doesn't really have any electricity or anything, so it's hard to have bumping music.
That's fair. You need a lot of batteries.
Like Hannah's Stillwood Camp has some bumping sound systems, I'm sure. So I think the first story is Hannah.
Okay.
The stuck in poo, I think, is going to be Danny.
Okay.
Because he said he was 5, and he would have been living in Africa. There's some big animals.
Oh, okay.
They live some big poo.
So you're thinking this happened
Danny.
Out of country.
Yeah.
The poo situation.
Maybe Danny. And then I think Sophie is the hide and seek gone wrong.
I think Sophie broke into a neighbor's house.
She broke into the neighbor's house.
It's commitment. So unfortunately, you have not beaten the record.
Oh no.
That doesn't actually exist because this is a brand new game.
It's a brand new game. I am the record.
Yes. So I guess you made the record. You were 1 for 3.
Dang it.
So the only one you got correct was Danny, who did get stuck in flamingo poo, to be precise, but I thought that might give it away.
Flamingo poo?
Flamingo poo is what I was told.
So it must have been just a bunch of flamingo poo.
Yeah, and he just, I guess, decided to go walking and wasn't, keeping his head on a swivel and stepped in and got stuck.
All right.
Unfortunately, Sophie and Hannah got switched around there. So Sophie was the one that just screamed Mondo Nation in a very awkward way. And Hannah is basically an underground thief and just broke into somebody's house. I guess not a thief, but
See, I felt pretty confident about Hannah also, like the possibility of Hannah also being the one to go into the house.
Yeah.
But I was more confident of her screaming Mondo Nation.
That's fair.
At a camp.
Yeah. So I could see Hannah and Sophie both breaking into a house together for hide and seek. I think that's the problem right there.
That is the problem. They're too similar.
All right. Well, better luck next time. 1 for 3, I guess that's still an F,
I didn't get 0.
But, that's all right.
At least I didn't get 0.
Yeah, at least I didn't get 0. That's a good bar. But we'll see you right after this commercial break. And Mike and I here, we're going to talk a bit about his last few years here as a youth pastor and going forward from there. See you after the break. Welcome back to the somewhat mid-afternoon show with me, your very special host, Brady. Unlike this guy over here, Mike, who used to be the former host, very former non-special host too, of the show. But he's still here as a guest this time. So thanks for coming.
Yeah, had to be here, and I'm all right with being here.
I mean, I'm glad you're all right. It's just, that's what I'm aiming for.
So.
I hope you're still not too hurt over me taking over the show, but
Don't want to talk about it.
So yeah, since you're here, I thought, you'd get an interview of your own, experience what it's like to be on the other side of the questions.
Throwing me a bone.
Yeah, just thought you'd be part of the trip a little bit.
Sure, why not?
So, normally we've had guests, including me at one point, talk about like kind of our story and stuff, but I thought we'd change it up because, the show is supposed to be improving. So this is me improving it.
Yeah, I think unfortunately as well, I think your episode's the most viewed one too.
Yeah, so see, like it's just the producers knew that they had to make a change, save the ratings. So
I don't know.
But anyway, my best idea is a bit of an origin story of kind of where you started here at Jericho. So I guess, walk us through a little bit on how you became a youth pastor here at Jericho and why you wanted to do that in the first place.
Yeah, well, it was back when I was in grade 11 that I felt like I wanted to be into youth ministry. And so I started trying it out by youth leading, which is what you've been doing.
That's what I do.
This year. Mm-hmm. And I was at a big church with a really big youth group. And so my youth leading involved leading a small group of grade 7s. And it was just making sure they didn't throw snowballs at cars at the highway and break things. Yeah. So after 1 year of doing that, I decided there's no way I was going to do youth ministry. And then so I started doing some young adult ministry. And as I was kind of developing that at my church, my heart for it was seeing this intergenerational ministry. So we had our young adults. We're just kind of this group of people in between youth and in between the regular your Sunday morning church stuff, and they didn't feel like they belonged in either. Yeah. And so they had their own group, but then once they aged out of young adults, they still didn't come on Sundays. Okay. Because they just didn't have that bridge. So I wanted to do intergenerational ministries was my big thing, and it just kind of I worked at it with, there's a core group of us that were really working at it, and it just didn't take off. And about that time, I was doing this all for free. So I was an intern for like 3 years.
Nice.
And I was really hoping to get a position, and then eventually just came to a point where it was like, you know what, they're not going to bring me on. So I started looking around at churches, and I came across Jericho's page in their youth ministry role. I was like, well, I'll take a look at it. And one of the big core values that they had for youth ministry was intergenerational. And the things that they wanted to do were the same things that I wanted to do with young adults. And so it kind of lined up with where I saw myself going in ministry. And so I figured I would give it a try and applied. And then a month and a half later, we were moving down here.
Yeah, well, there you go. And I'd say, like, it's always been clear to me, I guess, because, like, I'm not only, like, been a youth sponsor, like, under your youth ministry, but I was part of the youth program when you kind of came on board. So it's kind of been cool to see both sides of that. I guess that experience of, like, how you've done youth and also, like, transitioned us into a young adult program that, like, I'm still in. We're still meeting regularly and everything, which has been cool to see. And I think even a lot of our youth, especially on, like, the oldest side of our youth program, are kind of looking forward to going into that young adults program too, which is awesome to see. But yeah, I guess looking more specifically at the youth program, what growth have you seen within the program over your 5 or so years here at Jericho, and kind of, I guess, as a starting point of when you showed up and now that you're kind of transitioning?
Yeah, I think for myself, I've seen like growth myself. Like this was my first paid ministry position. And through this, I was also actually credentialed to be a pastor. So this is like my first, official. This is, take it and run with it. And so I even remember, I have this notebook that I still have that I'm actually almost finally have filled, but I've had it for now like 6 years. And in there is one of the first Bible studies that I ran for Source when we were in the LEC, probably one of the very first ones. And we were out on the picnic tables. And I remember trying to do the study and just the whole time thinking, this is just not going well. Because I was still learning. There's a difference speaking and trying to do a Bible study with young adults, who at that time I was a young adult when I was doing that. So that compared to, I think it was the junior kids, so grade 7, 8, and 9, there's a big difference. And it just didn't quite land. And then I think Jericho, for me, has been a great place for me to try out things and discover my own style. And then I think seeing like you youth have not just tolerated my experiments with you. You probably didn't know I was experimenting on you, but actually like we're willing to engage with it. Like imaginative prayer, even though Jared and Jace were using it to sleep during Source, but like engaging in that and engaging in Lectio Divina, where I'm reading the same passage like 3-4 times, but still you guys engaging in that and us trying out different things and the amount of games that I tried to do that just flopped, or games that were awesome and did that. So just, I think the DNA of Jericho has always been has been flexibility, because we've kind of been forced to. And that's totally the same in our youth, just with trying out these different things and being willing to step in and try those things. And then even you think the 5 years that I've been here, we were meeting at Mountain View with 3 other churches, and then at Mountain View with 2 other churches, and then here by ourselves, but then not here by ourselves, and then now should be in here, but now it's all online, yet still, you guys all love hanging out with each other, and I love hanging out with you guys. So it's, I think just that flexibility and you guys willing to try different things, which I think is an important spirit to keep going forward.
Yeah, and I think it's something like I've seen evidence so many different parts of Jericho. It's like even like obviously during this whole season, it was like we've been kind of, flexibility is like a necessity if you're going to survive, and just like switching to like a digital format, but like youth like events have still gone like on like not as normal, but like where they're actually engaging to do like whether it's like our Bible studies or even just kind of like our Thursday night games. It's been like everybody's just willing to hang out and have fun and just kind of do that, and
Yeah.
it's kind of like really cool to see as I've been more and more in youth and just Jericho life as a whole. But yeah, I guess switching gears to being a bit more like nostalgic kind of thing of like, is there something like a favorite moment of yours, or just like a favorite kind of like event that you guys do, or like something where like you feel like the youth and like all the leaders are present together, where like you think the best things have happened? Or
Yeah, I think one of the things that I really wanted to do in youth ministry was create those memories that like you guys could look back on and be like, remember this time? Because that was like a big thing for me, having all the inside jokes with youth and remember when we did this and remember when we did that.
yeah.
And so I think a lot of my favorite memories are probably the same memories that you guys have. And like, it's always the retreats are always big memories. And you know, like particularly when we have moved up to Kakwa the last, I don't know, 3 years that we've done that. Like, it's just hours and hours of 9 Square.
Yeah.
And if we're tired of 9 Square, then we move over to Gaga Ball.
Yeah.
And so there's all the memories with that. But what I really enjoy about the retreat that is different from any other kind of experience I've had with youth or I've heard from other youth groups is like, our group doesn't really split off from each other a whole lot. Like, if we're like, okay, we're probably going to go play Gaga Ball, like pretty much everyone is going and playing Gaga Ball together, or everyone's going and playing 9 Square together, or everyone's going and doing this thing together. And that's actually an amazing thing for, you know, we have a group of grade 7s with right now a grade 11, and yet that grade 11's willing to hang out with those grade 7s.
And that's something I've really noticed, like obviously this last year, kind of when I got to come along on the youth retreat, there was something I really noticed. Like I was expecting it's like, oh, like we'll like split up and we'll kind of do our own things, but it was always like we're all playing 9 Square for an obscenely long time together, which was like awesome. But I was like, wasn't expecting like that kind of like cohesiveness. So I was like always prepared for many like kind of cliques to develop, but it never really went that way. And I think that's like a very intentional part, obviously by like the youth and being able to get along like that, but it's also a mindset that you develop, not maybe a mindset, but a practice that you kind of develop, which is awesome to see. But
it's part of that intergenerational thing, right? Like, it's not just having youth with adults, but you know, grade 7s with grade 12s. Because I mean, we're at a number where you can't split high school and middle school. So just kind of setting that expectations, and you know, finding out that actually that grade 7 or 8 kid is actually hilarious to a grade 11, 12 kid, and the kind of things you can do with that. So yeah, the retreat's always a good memory, and then there's just kind of ridiculous ones. Like I remember I made up a Thanksgiving game where, if I could try to remember what there was, like, I think the people who were running away and the people who were turkeys. And then you had to get a turkey baster filled with water and like spray it into the person who's been tagged. That's lie down, you spray it in the mouth and revive it. And I was like, I don't know how this game's going to go. And it was the most ridiculous thing, but I think they had fun. I told them, like, you could tell me if it sucks or it does. And they didn't tell me it sucks. So something like that. Or when we were in this building, we were playing Gorgons and I had the black morph suit on and was just running around chasing around kids in the black morph suit. So some of those ridiculous memories are so much fun too.
No, that's awesome. I guess thinking, obviously you've been reflecting a lot, but kind of as you transition to like any new role that you look forward to, I guess what's kind of an encouragement that you want to leave with like the youth group? And obviously this isn't going to be like the last time or anything like this coming, like last week or so that you'll talk to them, but something as like a youth pastor, like that you really want to encourage the youth to continue to develop, and just like an affirmation of where they're headed and everything like that.
Yeah, I think I've kind of said it already, but encouraging you to keep trying different things, like the imaginative prayer and the Lectio Divina or prayer journaling, like all those different prayer things. We spent like a full year just doing different prayer things, or trying different ways to read our Bibles to get the most out of it, and extending up those to other things. Like, we didn't touch on a lot of spiritual practices. Actually, that was probably going to be the series that we were going to do now if it wasn't for being in the building. But things like fasting and finding silence and solitude and things like these, but willing to be able to try those things and keep doing that even without a me or a Brady or a Jamie or a Pastor Brad guiding you to do those things, but seeking those things on your own. And like, I think even this past couple weeks, or actually even past couple months, have been encouraging to me to see you guys grow in different ways, which is something that not a lot of youth pastors get to see, because they often, actually, I think average youth pastors stick around for 3 to 5 years, and I've been here 5 years and trying different things with you guys, but seeing the growth that you guys have made. And I mentioned it one of our Zoom Bible studies, like the first time we did Bible study, and we did the option of you share what stood out to you, what questions you had, or you can pass, and pretty much everyone would pass, and once in a while someone would throw it in there, and now we have more people sharing. And like, when you guys pass, I know that it was more likely that something didn't stand out to you, which is fine, which is because not every time something stands out to you, rather than you just being too shy to share. So like, that boldness that you have in your faith now, to be willing to share with one another what God's speaking to you in that moment. And then even like Tuesday, having a conversation before Bible study started with Hannah, who's got new highlighters that she's super excited to highlight in her Bible, and the readings that she's taken the time on her own volition, her own motivation from herself to go out and do those readings. And I know like Sophie, I hear trying to set up Bible reading plans with her friends and things like that is super encouraging to me. And just like, you guys keep doing that. Like, these practices that you're putting in place of prayer practices and reading the Bible are going to be what keeps you in the faith and keeps strengthening your faith more than any teaching I probably gave you. So that's why I did a year on prayer, because I wanted you guys to be able to hear from God, because that is going to impact you more than a message. Mm-hmm. Like, if I look back at my own experiences with God, transformed me way more than anything that my youth pastor ever taught me. And I had a fantastic youth pastor.
So. Well, and I think, I think that's just an attitude that you really developed within the group. Obviously, having that year of just focusing on prayer and everything, and it's also just evident in the way that you interact with like the youth and everything, is that it comes from God, and it's a reliance on God. It's not a reliance on necessarily like a youth pastor. It's not a reliance on like other people around you, but kind of grounding everything in everything that we're doing, everything that we develop, all of our skills, everything like that goes through God, and it comes from that relationship. I think that's just been kind of I think I've only been involved in youth, obviously sporadically for whatever different reasons over the last few years, kind of working in this youth group. But every time I've kind of come in, I think my mindset when I first decided to kind of help out with youth and participate in that way was it's just gonna be like kind of fun and games, and then you do your like 10, 15, whatever mini message, and that's just like the classic flow of like youth ministry. But the more we've worked together over various different things, like, it's just clearly much more intentional. It's much more kind of we're trying to develop skills that just go outside of youth, and it's not just, I taught them that God loves them today, which is valid to teach, but it's not. There's more to that, and there's more focus on the relationship, and just like an encouragement for you just to keep doing that kind of skill as you go out into other areas of ministry, and just kind of keeping that at the forefront of just kind of encouraging that relationship with God, but also continuing to, develop that relationship with God, but also continuing to do that with like different generations as well. I think that's super important, and especially as you move maybe not necessarily into a youth pastor role going into the future, but in either associate or kind of lead kind of role, like that's obviously like the church, everybody's going to be looking into that leadership from you, and fostering that mindset at all levels is just so powerful. And I think it really encourages even small groups that contain people from all different age groups, where there's not this separation, but just like an overall family of people in a church wanting to develop that relationship with God together. And I think that's something that I never really thought about until we started interacting in such an intentional way of like what we're learning. I think I came out of the youth group and I kind of was like, oh, that was fun. I learned a lot of stuff. But I wasn't cognizant of the time that it was very intentional that we transitioned into a young adults group, and that you were constantly working on the background to make sure like my youth group kind of came out of that and went into like a young adults group that I'm in now. And I think, it just, it's changed like how my spiritual journey has developed, because I think without that young adults group and kind of wanting to go deeper into that, or without working together on youth and other ministries as well together, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I know like so many other youth in the group like share the same kind of sentiment of like their spiritual journey wouldn't be nearly as where they are if it wasn't for your presence in that journey. And I wouldn't just like kind of hold that as the affirmation of what you've been doing last 5 years.
Thank you.
Anyways, Mike, thank you so much for coming onto my new show. I appreciate it.
Thank you for letting me be your first Yes.
Yes. I thought it'd be a good kind of way to start my new journey here. But we will see you again on Sunday for our upcoming movie night. And we'll see all of you on Sunday as well for our movie night here at Jericho Center at some time in the evening, but I forget what time, so check.
I think it's 6.
Maybe 6. We'll see. I might be late. I don't know. Check the app or Instagram or whatever, and you'll find out what we're going to do. And also vote on what movie.
Yes.
There's a poll on Instagram.
It's a movie bracket.
A movie bracket.
It actually will be probably to the finals by now.
Yeah, there you go. So then I'll hope you already voted because it's too late. But we'll see you then. Mike, thanks for being my very first host, and we will see the rest of you next week on Sunday for our next guest, who's currently a secret, but it's okay.
Actually, I didn't tell you this after you beat me at the bottle flipping.
Amazingly, by the way, beat you at the bottle flipping.
You have done a really good job today, but unfortunately I am both your first and your last guest.
No.
Because we only had a contract for 11 episodes, and this is the 11th episode.
11 episodes.
Yeah. 11 was my lucky number when I was a kid, so when I saw, here's 11 episodes that you could have, I said, perfect. Didn't even question it, that it was a weird number.
You weren't like, can I have 12? You just were like...
No, 11.
So this is done.
This is done.
So I can't... you were just my last...
I'm your first.
I couldn't even have one episode of peace without you on the...
And to be honest, I've pretty much already interviewed all the youth.
That's true. That's why I don't even have a guest for next week, because I just,
And also because the contract's done.
Well, I didn't know that, or else I wouldn't have beat you at a bottle flipping contest, because you should feel honored that you lost so amazingly. But, okay. Well, I'll see you never then, audience. Thanks for coming to the last episode, I guess. I'm at a loss of words because now I don't even have a show, so my life work is kind of over. But see you at movie night on Sunday. Have a good, somewhat mid-afternoon.